Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to explore some new ideas.
Well, you guys gave us a good one this time. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
It's a classic for a reason, right? So many people have found it helpful.
Yeah, it's all about kind of shaking up how we think about money, you know?
Challenging those old assumptions, yeah.
And today, we're going to dig into some of the most important lessons from it. The stuff that really makes you think differently.
I think what's really interesting is how it uses the author's own life as the example, right?
Mhm.
Growing up with two dads who had completely opposite views on money.
Okay, so let's talk about these two dads. We've got his biological father, the poor
The
dad.
teacher, right?
Yeah, solid education, stable job. And then we've got the rich dad, his best friend's father.
The entrepreneur, building
And
businesses.
right away, you see how different their mindsets were, like
Mm.
what they valued and what they thought was important.
And that's really what the book is all about, right? That difference in mindset. The poor dad believed in working hard, getting a good education, and finding a stable job.
Kind of the classic path to success.
Exactly. But the rich dad, he was all about financial literacy.
So understanding how money works, right?
Yeah. And building assets, things that generate income, the whole idea of making your money work for you.
Instead of just working for money.
Exactly. It's a totally different way of looking at things.
It really does flip the script, doesn't it?
Yeah.
One of the big ideas from the book is the rich don't work for money, they have money work for them. But how do we actually do that? Like, what are the practical steps?
Oh, that's where the stories come in, right? The book uses all these anecdotes from the author's childhood to kind of illustrate these principles in action.
Okay, so like, for example, there's that story about the lead nickels.
The counterfeiting business, right? Melting down those old toothpaste tubes.
Yeah. But obviously, we're not condoning counterfeiting here.
Definitely not. But the point is, even at a young age, they were showing an initiative, that entrepreneurial spirit.
So they saw a problem. They wanted more money.
And they found a creative, although very misguided solution.
Hmm.
But it's about that drive, that willingness to think outside the box.
Recognizing a need and trying to meet it.
Yeah, exactly. And you see how Rich Dad saw that potential in them. He didn't shut them down. He tried to nurture it, encourage them to think differently and find solutions.
Which leads us to that other interesting story.
The first job.
Yeah. Dusting cans for Rich Dad for like, what was it, 10 cents an hour?
A measly 10 cents, yeah.
At first, it seems kind of exploitative, right?
You pays a kid that little.
But then you realize there's a bigger lesson there.
Oh, absolutely. Rich Dad was using those unconventional methods to teach about financial literacy.
So it wasn't just a job, it was a learning experience.
Exactly. He wanted him to see the bigger picture, to really get that work-money connection.
So instead of just complaining about the low wages.
Right. He wanted the author to understand something much more important, to learn about assets and liabilities.
Assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take it out.
That's the core of building wealth.
And Rich Dad designed that experience, that job, to drive that point home.
Exactly. Even a seemingly crummy job could be an opportunity.
To learn and grow.
Yeah, it's about shifting perspective and not letting fear hold you back.
So how do they go from that lesson to actually building assets? Did Rich Dad give them some secret formula?
Not really, more like a nudge in the right direction. Remember the comic book library?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so they noticed all those old comics just being thrown away at the convenience store.
Distributor would just keep the top half of the covers. For credit, right?
And the boys just saw an opportunity,
They did. They got permission to take those comics and set up a little library in the basement.
charging other kids to read them.
Exactly. Talk about resourcefulness.
They created a system that brought in money.
Without them having to constantly work for it. Passive income.
Okay, that's a key principle.
Huge. It's about building something once and then having it generate income over time.
Like those rental properties everyone talks about. Or even creating content online these days.
Exactly. You're breaking free from trading your time for money directly.
That's a major mindset shift.
And you can see how they were already wrapping their heads around it as kids.
It's pretty cool how Rich Dad, Poor Dad breaks down those big concepts, those complex financial ideas.
Makes them relatable, using stories that anyone can understand.
It's like sneaking in financial literacy.
Exactly. And it shows that you can start early, even as a kid.
So they're getting this early paste of entrepreneurship, understanding assets, and passive income. What's next in their financial education?
Well, that's when Rich Dad brings up something pretty powerful.
What's that?
Corporations.
Ah, corporations. Now we're getting serious.
Right. This is a tool that the wealthy use, and he wanted them to see how it worked.
Okay, so what was his angle on corporations?
He saw them as a way to play by the same rules as the rich, to level the playing field a bit. Most people, they work for money, pay taxes on their income.
And then spend what's left right.
Exactly. Corporations, they do things differently. They earn, they spend, and then they pay taxes on what's left.
That's a big difference.
Huge. It changes the whole game.
So how did Rich Dad use corporations to his advantage?
He understood that a corporation is a separate legal entity.
Meaning what, exactly?
It means you can legally separate your personal income from your business income. And that opens up all sorts of possibilities.
Like tax advantages and deductions.
Exactly. Things that regular folks don't always have access to.
So it's like working smarter, not just harder.
Right. Using the system to your advantage.
That's powerful stuff.
It is, and it can feel a little overwhelming at first, you know?
I can imagine. It sounds complicated.
It can be, but the point is that even a basic understanding of how corporations work can give you a big leg up.
So it's about opening your mind to new possibilities, realizing there are different ways to play the game.
Exactly. And that leads us to another one of Rich Dad's, shall we say, controversial viewpoints.
Get me with it.
He said owning a home isn't always an asset.
Wait, what? Seriously, I mean, everyone says your house is your biggest asset.
I know, right? It's what we're all told.
So why did he think that?
He pointed out that houses come with a lot of expenses.
Oh, sure, like your mortgage.
Yeah, and property taxes, maintenance, all that stuff.
It adds up.
It does. And those expenses can really drain your finances, especially if you've got a bigger house than you need.
Or if it's more expensive than you could really afford.
Exactly. So he wasn't saying don't buy a house. He was saying look at it from a financial perspective. Is it really putting money in your pocket?
Or is it taking money out?
That's the question. It's about thinking critically and not just accepting conventional wisdom.
Challenging the whole American dream idea.
Right. The house with the white picket fence. Make sure it aligns with your financial goals.
Okay, we've covered a lot. Two dads, their mindsets, lid nickels, comic books, assets versus liabilities, even corporations, and the whole house is an asset debate. What should our listener be taking away from all this?
I think the biggest takeaway is the importance of developing your financial IQ. Rich Dad believed that financial literacy is essential, and it's about more than just earning money.
It's about understanding how money works.
Exactly. It's about becoming financially intelligent so you can make informed decisions and take control of your financial future.
And it seems like Rich Dad had a pretty unique way of teaching those lessons.
He did. He was all about experiential learning.
Learning by doing, even if it means making some mistakes along the way.
That's right. He pushed them to figure things out for themselves.
So for our listener, it's not just about reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's about actually applying those principles.
Exactly. Taking action, challenging your own assumptions about money.
Reading your own path.
Absolutely. And speaking of unconventional, this is where it gets really interesting. Rich Dad showed the author how to create money from practically nothing. But we'll have to save that for part 2.
All right, everyone, stay tuned. We're diving deeper into Rich Dad, Poor Dad in just a bit.
So remember that idea we touched on? Creating money from nothing.
Yeah, that really caught my attention. Sounds a little like magic, though.
It's not magic. It's about understanding the system,
Yeah.
seeing those opportunities that other people miss.
Okay, I'm all ears. How did Rich Dad pull that off?
Well, one example was buying and selling houses in a depressed market with hardly any money down.
So instead of saving up for a big down payment, he was using, what?
Yeah.
Creative financing.
Exactly. Leverage. He was using other people's money to get those assets.
Assets that could generate income and
Yeah.
hopefully go up in value, too.
Right. That's the idea.
That sounds pretty risky, though. How did he minimize that risk?
Knowledge.
Yeah.
Planning. Rich Dad taught the author to really analyze deals, understand what was happening in the market, and how to negotiate good terms.
So he wasn't just gambling.
No way. It was calculated based on financial intelligence
Understanding the game, basically.
and knowing how to play it. Which brings us back to that concept we talked about earlier, financial IQ. Remember, Rich Dad broke it down into 4 main areas:
Okay, refresh my memory.
accounting, investing, understanding markets, and the law.
Right. So accounting, that's basically financial literacy.
Being able to look at those financial statements, yeah, and actually understand what they're telling you, knowing how a business makes and spends money.
So if you want to invest in a company or start your own business,
You got to be able to read those numbers, see the story they're telling.
then there's investing. knowing how to make your money grow,
Learning about different strategies, figuring out how much risk you're comfortable with, and being able to spot those undervalued assets, the hidden gems.
making your money work for you,
Exactly, generating that passive income. And we've already touched on understanding markets, seeing patterns, knowing when to buy, sell, or hold,
being able to read the market like a pro, right?
making informed decisions. And finally, there's the law. Rich Dad was big on understanding how to use legal structures.
Like corporations and trusts, right?
Yeah, to protect your assets
Yeah.
and minimize how much you pay in taxes.
So you get to keep more of what you earn.
Exactly. And this is something that most people never even learn about. They're stuck in that cycle of working and paying taxes without ever questioning it.
So Rich Dad wasn't just teaching him to make money. He was teaching him to build this whole financial system that would work for him.
A blueprint for financial freedom, a roadmap to escape the rat race.
It can feel kind of daunting, though. Like, where do you even start?
It can, but the rewards are worth it. And the key is to start small. Take one step at a time. Focus on building your financial intelligence.
So what's one practical step our listener could take today, like right now, to start building that IQ?
Honestly, pick up Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Read it, really dive into those principles.
Don't just skim it.
No, really absorb it. Highlight those key passages, make it yours.
Internalize that message.
Yeah. And then start applying what you learned. Take action. Build that foundation.
One step at a time.
Exactly. It's a lifelong journey.
So what's another practical thing our listener can do to put those ideas into action?
Start tracking your income and expenses.
Okay, so basic budgeting.
It's the foundation. You need to see where your money is going
Find those areas where you can cut back, maybe.
or where you could be saving more.
You can use a spreadsheet, an app, whatever works for you.
Just be consistent and honest with yourself about your spending.
And don't be afraid to make adjustments along the way.
As you learn more, as your priorities change.
So track your money
Mm.
and set goals.
Absolutely. Financial goals. Without those, you're just drifting.
You need that clear vision of where you want to go.
So think about it. What do you want to achieve? Buy a house, retire early, travel the world.
Once you know what you want, you can start making a plan to get there.
And that plan might change along the way, that's fine.
Life happens. Be flexible, but keep those goals in sight.
And remember, start small. Even investing a small amount every month makes a difference.
It's about building momentum.
And as your income grows, you can invest more.
So we've talked about mindset, tracking spending, setting goals, but let's be real, a lot of people get stuck because of fear, right?
Oh, absolutely. Fear is a huge obstacle. Fear of failure, fear of risk. It keeps people from taking action.
And I get it, the financial world can seem intimidating. But Rich Dad had a different perspective on fear.
He did. He said winners are not afraid of losing, but losers are.
Interesting. So it's not about avoiding fear altogether.
It's about reframing it, seeing failure as part of the process.
A learning experience.
Exactly. Take calculated risks.
Mm-hmm.
Make mistakes. Learn from them.
Push yourself outside that comfort zone.
That's how you grow.
Mm-hmm.
Develop that growth mindset. Challenges become opportunities.
So powerful. And that applies to so much more than just money.
It really does. But how do we actually overcome that fear and get started?
Yeah, any practical tips for that?
First, you have to figure out what you're actually afraid of.
Pinpoint those fears.
Once you know what you're dealing with, you can start to challenge them. And sometimes the best way to overcome fear is to just do it.
Take action, even if it's a small step.
Exactly. Build your confidence.
Okay, so we've talked about mindset, but let's get specific. How do we start building that asset column? Any good starting points for our listener?
The stock market is a great place to start. And it's more accessible than ever these days, thanks to online brokerages and robo-advisors.
You don't need to be a millionaire to get started.
Nope. You can start small. And you have options, too. You can invest in individual stocks, which is a bit riskier.
But potentially more rewarding,
Or you can go with index funds or mutual funds.
which are a little more diversified, right?
Yeah, that's the key. You're spreading your money across different investments, reducing your risk.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's what they always say.
Exactly. So whether you choose individual stocks or funds, do your research, understand the risks.
And make sure it aligns with your goals.
Absolutely. And remember, investing is a long game. You're not going to get rich quick.
Don't try to time the market. Just stay consistent.
Let compound interest work its magic.
That's where your money makes money, and then that money makes money.
It's powerful stuff. And the earlier you start, the better.
So investing in the stock market is a great option. But Rich Dad was also big on real estate.
Oh, he was. And while it can require more money up front, it has some unique advantages.
It's a tangible asset.
You can see it, touch it, and it can generate both passive income through rents.
And hopefully appreciate in value over time.
Right. There are different ways to get involved. You can buy rental properties, flip houses, or even invest in REITs,
REITs.
real estate investment trusts. They're like mutual funds for real estate.
So you're investing in a bunch of properties without having to actually buy and manage them yourself.
Exactly. But no matter how you choose to invest, do your homework. Understand the risks and rewards.
And find a strategy that works for you. Okay, so stocks and real estate. But what about those unconventional opportunities that Rich Dad was always talking about?
He believed there was value in all sorts of things.
Like what?
Businesses, precious metals, intellectual property even. It's about being able to spot those opportunities that other people miss.
Thinking outside the box.
He said great opportunities are not seen with your eyes, they are seen with your mind. So develop that entrepreneurial mindset.
Be curious, be observant.
Look for ways to solve problems, create value. Maybe it's starting a side hustle, learning a new skill. Just pay attention to what people need and want.
Be proactive.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to try things.
Because as Rich Dad said, the moment you see one opportunity, you'll see them for the rest of your life.
So take action, see where it leads you.
Okay, we've talked about assets, but now let's talk about debt.
Ah, yes. Debt.
Rich Dad had a different view on it, right?
He did. He didn't see all debt as bad.
Okay, so explain that one to me.
He talked about good debt and bad debt. Good debt is when you use it to acquire assets that will generate income.
Like taking out a mortgage to buy a rental property.
Exactly. Bad debt is when you use it to buy stuff that just drains your finances.
Clothes, gadgets, vacations you can't really afford.
Things that don't make you money. So the key is to use debt strategically to build wealth.
Buy those assets that put money in your pocket, not the other way around.
Right. And live below your means. Avoid those unnecessary expenses.
Rich Dad was all about creating a positive cash flow cycle
Where your income is more than your expenses.
and using that extra money to acquire more assets and reduce liabilities. For our listener who might be struggling with debt right now, what's a good first step they can take?
Create a budget. Track those expenses.
See where their money's going.
And once they have a handle on their spending, they can start making a plan to pay down that debt.
There are different strategies for that.
The snowball method, the avalanche method.
Find one that works for them.
And be consistent with those payments.
And if they need help, there are resources out there.
Credit counseling agencies, financial advisors.
Don't let debt control your life.
Take control of your finances and make decisions that align with your goals.
Speaking of control, we keep coming back to mindset. It's so important in this whole financial journey.
It really is. Rich Dad believed that your mindset is just as important as your financial knowledge and skills.
He encouraged the author to develop that wealth-building mentality,
To believe in his ability to achieve success.
to think big, set ambitious goals.
Take calculated risks.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Be persistent. Never give up on your dreams.
Surround yourself with the right people.
He believed that your thoughts create your reality.
So if you believe you can achieve something,
You're much more likely to make it happen.
and if you doubt yourself, if you think financial success is out of reach,
You're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy.
so you have to challenge those limiting beliefs about money.
Those negative thoughts that are holding you back.
Maybe you think you're not good with money, or that you'll never be wealthy.
Replace those thoughts with positive affirmations.
Like, I'm learning and growing financially every day.
Or, I'm creating a life of abundance and opportunity.
It's about shifting your perspective.
From scarcity to abundance.
Rich Dad said, the single most powerful asset we all have is our mind.
If it is trained well, it can create enormous wealth seemingly instantaneously.
Believe in yourself.
That's the first step. But then, you have to take action.
Rich Dad was all about putting knowledge into practice.
Don't just read books, he said. Do something with what you learn.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Be decisive. Take those calculated risks.
Learn from your experiences.
And surround yourself with successful people.
Find those mentors.
People who can support you and inspire you.
So what's one piece of advice you would give to our listener who's feeling stuck, not sure where to begin?
Take action. Even a tiny step forward is better than nothing.
Open a brokerage account. Read a personal finance book.
Break the inertia. Build momentum.
As Rich Dad said, Most people only talk and dream of getting rich.
You've done something.
I'm very proud of the two of you. I will say it again, keep going.
Don't quit.
So don't wait for the perfect moment.
Take action today. You might surprise yourself.
Okay, so we've talked about taking action, but it's also about building a strong foundation, right?
Absolutely. Rich Dad believed your financial foundation is like the foundation of a house.
If it's weak, the whole thing is at risk.
So what are the key elements of a strong financial foundation?
Well, Rich Dad was a big proponent of building a solid foundation by,
Developing financial literacy, creating a budget and tracking your expenses, paying down debt, saving and investing regularly.
and of course, acquiring those income-generating assets. He believed that by focusing on these fundamentals, you could create a secure financial future.
For yourself and your family.
And once you have that strong foundation, you can start taking more risks, explore new opportunities.
Really accelerate your wealth building.
So for our listener who's maybe wondering, how strong is my financial foundation? What are some good questions they can ask themselves?
Well, here are a few to consider. Do you understand basic financial concepts like budgeting, saving, investing, and debt management?
Do you know where your money is going?
Are you living below your means and avoiding unnecessary debt?
Do you have an emergency fund?
Are you saving for retirement and other long-term goals?
Are you investing in things that are likely to grow in value over time?
If the answer to any of those is no, it might be time to focus on strengthening that foundation. And it's never too late to start.
No matter where you are in your financial journey, there's always room for improvement.
You can always learn more, build better habits.
Create a more secure future. Speaking of the future, Rich Dad was big on taking the long view, wasn't he?
He was. He believed building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint.
Think in terms of decades, not years.
Focus on building something sustainable, something that will last for generations.
Be patient, be disciplined, be consistent, and don't get discouraged by those short-term setbacks.
The market goes up, the market goes down, but if you stick to your plan,
You'll get there eventually.
achieve that financial freedom.
So, for anyone out there tempted by those get-rich-quick schemes,
Remember, it takes time and effort.
and a commitment to lifelong learning,
Develop that long-term vision, make a plan, and stick to it.
even when things get tough,
Because, as Rich Dad said, it's not how much money you make.
it's how much money you keep.
Build that foundation, make smart choices, and let compound interest do its thing.
So true. It's not just about earning a lot. It's about managing what you have.
And that brings us to another key point: taxes.
Taxes.
Rich Dad believed that taxes are one of the biggest expenses most people have.
And that you need to understand the system if you want to minimize what you owe.
Legally, of course.
Yeah.
He taught the author about using those legal structures we talked about, corporations and trusts.
To protect assets, reduce tax liability.
He was big on staying informed too, knowing about changes in the tax laws, getting professional advice.
Because the more you know.
The more you can keep.
So for our listener who's maybe a little intimidated by the whole tax thing, where should they start?
Just start educating yourself.
About those basic tax principles.
There are tons of resources online, at the library. You can even talk to a tax advisor or accountant.
Get some personalized guidance.
The important thing is to be proactive.
Don't let fear or just not knowing hold you back.
Take advantage of the legal tax benefits that are out there.
As Rich Dad said, the rich don't just sit there and voluntarily pay more taxes.
Instead, they search for ways to minimize their tax burden. They hire smart attorneys and accountants.
And persuade politicians to change laws or create legal loopholes. They use their resources to effect change.
So be smart.
Be informed.
Use the system to your advantage. And speaking of being smart, we have to talk about risk.
Okay, risk. That's a big one.
Rich Dad believed that all investments come with some risk.
And you have to understand how to manage that risk.
If you want to be successful.
So, how did he teach the author to deal with risk?
He taught him to assess the potential risks and rewards of every investment opportunity.
And to diversify his portfolio.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He also emphasized having a backup plan. Be prepared for the unexpected.
Don't let fear paralyze you. Use it as motivation.
To learn and grow.
He believed that the biggest risk of all is not taking any risks if you play it too safe.
You miss out on those opportunities.
So for anyone out there who's a little hesitant to take risks or not sure how to manage them,
What would you suggest?
start by learning about the different types of risk.
And how to minimize them.
There are books, articles, online courses. You can also talk to a financial advisor.
Get a personalized assessment?
The key is to find that balance between risk and reward.
Something you're comfortable with.
Don't let fear hold you back.
Because as Rich Dad said, it is not gambling if you know what you're doing.
It is gambling if you're just throwing money into a deal and praying.
Be informed, be strategic.
Manage risk wisely.
And all of this comes back
Yeah.
to the importance of financial education.
Right?
Uh,
Absolutely. Rich Dad believed that financial education is essential for anyone who wants to achieve financial success. He wanted the author to constantly learn and grow.
Read books, attend seminars, find mentors.
Learn from those who have already achieved what you want.
He said the more you know about money.
The more control you have over your future.
And it's not just about learning from experts.
Learn from your own experiences too.
Take action, make mistakes, adjust your course. So for our listener who's dedicated to building their financial IQ, how can they keep that learning going? What are
Yeah.
some good next steps?
Well, you can make it a habit to read books and articles about personal finance and investing.
There are blogs, podcasts, videos.
Tons of resources out there.
Attend seminars, workshops, maybe even hire a financial advisor or coach.
Make financial education a lifelong pursuit. Never stop learning and growing.
Because, as Rich had said, most people never study the subject.
They go to work, get their paycheck, balance their checkbooks, and that's it.
Then they wonder why they have money problems.
So invest in your financial education
It's an investment that will keep paying off.
for years to come.
It's like investing in yourself. And again, we come back to that idea of mindset. So crucial.
It really is. Rich Dad believed in developing that wealth-building mentality.
Believing in your ability to succeed.
So thinking big, setting those ambitious goals,
Taking calculated risks. Being okay with failure.
being persistent, not giving up on your dreams.
And surrounding yourself with positive, supportive people.
Your thoughts create your reality.
If you believe you can achieve something,
You're much more likely to make it happen.
and if you're filled with doubt, you're probably right.
So identify those limiting beliefs.
Those negative thoughts about money.
Challenge them. Replace them with empowering affirmations.
Instead of, I'm not good with money, tell yourself, I'm learning and growing every day.
Visualize yourself achieving those goals.
Feel what it would be like to live that dream.
Surround yourself with people who believe in you.
Shift your perspective from scarcity to abundance.
As Rich Dad said, the single most powerful asset we all have is our mind.
If it is trained well, it can create enormous wealth, seemingly instantaneously.
So choose to believe in yourself.
It's amazing how much of this comes down to mindset.
It's not just about the numbers, it's about how you approach them.
And that brings us to another key piece of the puzzle. Relationships.
Rich Dad was big on building those strong relationships.
With people who could help you along the way. Mentors, advisors, investors.
He encouraged networking.
Finding those people who had already achieved what you want to achieve.
He was also big on giving back, helping others, creating win-win situations.
He believed that building those strong relationships
Could expand your network, provide you with valuable opportunities.
accelerate your progress. So for our listener who's maybe thinking, okay, how do I even start building my network? How do I find those mentors and advisors? What are some practical tips?
Go to industry events, conferences, workshops.
Join professional organizations.
Connect with people online. Reach out to people you admire, maybe just for a quick chat.
Be genuine, be helpful. It's about building those mutually beneficial relationships.
And remember, as Rich Dad said, the richest people in the world look for and build networks.
Everyone else looks for work.
Invest in your relationships.
It's not just about what you can get, though.
Right. It's about giving back, too.
Rich Dad believed true wealth is about more than just money.
He encouraged using your resources to make a difference.
Supporting those causes you believe in.
Philanthropy, social responsibility.
Making the world a better place.
He believed that giving back not only helps others.
It brings a sense of purpose and fulfillment to your own life. So for our listener who wants to incorporate giving back into their financial journey, what are some good ways to do that?
You can donate to charities that support causes you care about.
Volunteer your time and skills.
Maybe even start your own foundation or social enterprise. Find a way to align your financial goals with your values.
And use your resources to make a positive impact.
As Rich Dad said, the more you give, the more you will receive.
It's about creating that cycle of abundance.
Not just for yourself, but for everyone.
And all of this leads us to the ultimate goal, right?
Financial freedom.
Rich Dad believed that financial freedom is about So much more than just having a lot of money.
It's about having the time, the resources, the flexibility to live the life you want.
To choose how you spend your time.
Pursue your passions.
Travel, experience new things,
Spend time with loved ones.
give back to your community.
It's about having options.
So how do we define financial freedom for ourselves?
Well, ask yourself, what would I do if I didn't have to work?
What are my passions?
What kind of lifestyle do I want?
What experiences do I want to have?
Once you have that vision,
You can start creating a roadmap to get there.
and remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
You're always learning, growing, adapting.
It's something anyone can achieve with the right knowledge, mindset, and actions.
So any final words of advice for our listener who's on that path to financial freedom?
Start by defining what financial freedom means to you.
And then make a plan.
Set goals,
Mm-hmm.
make a budget, invest wisely, and take action.
As Rich Dad said, financial freedom is available to those who learn about it and work for it.
So invest in your education.
Take action.
Create the life you want.
And don't let those obstacles stop you.
Rich Dad believed that everyone faces obstacles.
It's how you respond to them that makes all the difference.
He encouraged the author to view obstacles as opportunities for growth.
To not let setbacks derail his dreams, he talked about the importance of resilience,
Bouncing back from adversity, learning from mistakes,
seeking support from mentors.
and maintaining a positive attitude, believing in yourself.
He believed that by developing these qualities,
You could turn obstacles into stepping stones.
so for our listener who might be facing challenges right now,
Remember, you're not alone. Everyone faces obstacles. It's not a sign of weakness.
it's about how you respond. Don't give up.
Seek support, learn from those mistakes, and keep moving forward.
As Rich Dad said, obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goal.
So stay focused on your vision.
You'll find a way to overcome any obstacle. Any other key points that we should leave our listener with?
I think we've hit the highlights, but one final thought that comes to mind is this. Financial intelligence is a journey, not a destination.
It's ongoing.
Always evolving.
Don't get overwhelmed by all the information out there.
Start with the basics. Build a strong foundation.
And keep learning.
It's okay to make mistakes along the way.
Those mistakes are valuable lessons.
Embrace them.
Use them to grow your financial intelligence.
Stay curious. Stay engaged.
And never stop learning. So let's wrap up this deep dive with a final thought for our listener to ponder. So much good stuff in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You know, it's hard to pick just one thing. But if our listener had to walk away with one big idea, what would it be?
I think it comes back to that core message. You have the power to create your own financial future. It's not about luck or being born into wealth.
It's about taking control, educating yourself,
Making smart choices, challenging those conventional ideas about money.
being open to those opportunities that other people miss.
Exactly. And, it all goes back to that story about the lead nickels.
Right. Even as kids, they were showing that entrepreneurial spirit.
Thinking outside the box.
It wasn't really about the money, was it?
No, it was about that creativity, the initiative.
And Rich Dad saw that. He encouraged them to keep thinking differently.
To question everything, look for solutions. Don't be afraid to experiment.
So what's one unconventional thing our listener could do this week? I'm inspired by that story, but, legal.
Think about an area of your finances where you've always done things by the book.
Saving, investing, even just your career path.
Challenge yourself to come up with one new idea, one way to shake things up.
Maybe research a new investment strategy.
Explore a side hustle.
Talk to someone who's already achieved the financial success you want.
Take that first step, even if it feels a little scary.
Because even a small step
Can lead to big changes.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Hopefully everyone's feeling inspired to take control of their financial future.
Remember, the resources are out there.
The knowledge is available.
You have the power to create the life you want.
Thanks for joining us.